The North American Caribbean Training Method was started earlier this year in 2020. And the purpose of the program is to give Caribbean coaches in the United States and Canada an opportunity to come together, train, and work with players.
We are going to spread this throughout the United States. This has been a dream of coaches of Caribbean descent in America for a very, very long time. And we have now to work and to get these kids to a different level.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Black Soccer Membership Association podcast. I am your host, Justin Reed, and I've got a special guest from Trinidad and Tobago. As you know, as an association, we don't just solely focus on the United States and Canada. We like to get around the rest of the world. So we have interesting topics today that we're going to discuss and give you all an opportunity to learn a little bit more about football in the Caribbean. So before we get started, if everyone can press the like button, press the subscribe button, and press the notification button, that'll help us to keep our podcast going. As you know, this is a podcast for Black soccer coaches, players, referees, and administrators. So I've got a special guest. He is from Trinidad and Tobago, and his name is Wayne Sheppard. Nickname is Sheppy. And before we introduce him, I just want to give you guys a little rundown in terms of what he's done and what he's accomplished. So as I mentioned, he's based in Trinidad and Tobago, and he's actually the former U15 assistant coach for the national team. He's also a program director and coach at the Arima North Secondary School, which is in the SSFL. And then he also helped to launch what is now called the National Football Coaches of Trinidad and Tobago. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to have an excellent discussion today. So Sheppy, thanks for coming on to the show today.
Hi, good day. Thanks for having me, Justin. It's a pleasure. And, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So I'm glad to be here.
You're all right. And thanks again for, taking the time out. So Sheppy, if you don't mind telling our audience a little bit more about yourself, and we can keep the conversation going.
All right. Well, for one, for sure that I love football. I played for Trinidad at U16 to U23 level. I was fortunate enough to share the field with Russell Latapy, Shaka Hislop, Dwight York. I was never as good as those guys. So I didn't go on to the careers that they had. I played at the local level. Had to end my career because of a third knee operation, and the sadness from not being able to play kept me away from the game for the longest while. I buried myself in my work. I was a computer and IT engineer at TSTT, which is one of the largest telecom providers in the Caribbean. I worked there for 25 years and only got reacquainted with football now on the coaching side when I left. I took a package and left the company. So that was 2013 or 2014, and I immediately started going about trying to educate myself in the line of coaching. You would notice a number of my diplomas and coaching badges are from the US system, and that is because it was a problem to get my first badge in Trinidad. Courses weren't run regularly, so it was a problem doing that. So I went abroad, started there, and I'm here now.
So Sheppy, tell us a bit more about like the importance of getting your licenses. When did you start doing it, and what current license do you have?
Okay, I did my first badge that I did was with the NSCAA, now USC. It was an L6, which was just a weekend course. But I was so desperate to educate myself that I paid for my ticket to come to Orlando to do that course. Because at the time, being a former national player, I had sent in my resume and everything to TTFA to see if I could have gotten onto a C license course here. Unfortunately, I didn't, and our course started soon after I had applied. So the courses don't run regularly. So if I missed that bus, I realized I would have to wait a whole while. And I was fortunate enough that I had actually started coaching already. And I saw the need for having a license and having license and being educated, because coaching, what people need to understand is that being a coach is being a teacher. And you may have all the knowledge in the world. As a player, I was always told that I was a thinking player, that, I had a football brain. But having that, understanding things and trying to then translate that knowledge or transfer that knowledge to someone else is a skill. And that is why teachers go to training colleges to learn how to teach. And that is why you need to go to do your badges. Doing your badge does not teach you about football. It teaches you how to teach football. So that was I saw that as a necessary step. And I haven't stopped since. I acquired my L6, my national diploma, advanced national. I came up this year to do my premier. I did it. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, there was a change in the testing. And I'm now trying to finish up an assignment to submit so that I can get my premier license. In Trinidad, I have the highest certificate that we have here, which is your B license. I have my C license, obviously. I've done other courses in other areas, such as periodization with the Olympic Committee, things that would help me to transfer knowledge to my players and to take better care of my players. I'm all for that. I even came up to Fred, the Caribbean, had a international coaches convention last year. I was up in Orlando for that. Met with Mark Brunel, who is a guy who developed Pogba and about 13 other World Cup winners, African Cup winners and players of the year. Mahrez is one of his former youth players. And it's always good to get knowledge to share and to learn from people who have obviously walked further along the path than you. So I'm all for that.
That's excellent, man. And we have talked previously about like the development of players in Trinidad and Tobago. How important do you think it is for the coaches to, one, get their licenses and then start focusing on the player development process? And I say that because I have, heard stories, or I've read, articles pretty much saying that development in Trinidad and Tobago doesn't seem like it starts until like the age of 12, 13. Is that true? What can be done, I guess, for the younger age groups through like licensing to help them?
You've touched on a pet peeve, a sore point there for me. Development in Trinidad. Trinidad does not understand the development, what is required, what is development. And I say that with no reservations. We don't. I'm not saying that there aren't people who do, but the people who do are either not in a position to influence the change that will bring about the correct template for development, or they are seeing an avenue where they gain for themselves. So the status quo does need to be changed. I'll give you an example. In 2018, I traveled to Atletico Madrid with some other coaches from the US for a 10-day workshop where we were afforded the lay of the land. We got to speak to the coaches there at the academy. We even saw the senior team under coach name escapes me right now. The head coach Diego Simeone. We even saw them, training sessions with them from that team straight down to the lowest team in the academy. And one thing stood out for me. I was fortunate enough to work with the U13 team, their U13 elite team, their A team. There is nowhere in Spain that you could find the standings for the division that they play in. Because winning is not important. Development is important. In Trinidad, we have a belief here that the more you win at a youth age, the better you are. And that is absolute nonsense. I'll give you this example. While we were there, the coach was working on playing out of the back. Playing out of the back. That's all they worked on that week. And then they went into a game on Saturday. And one thing I want to point out, that A team plays, that U13 A team plays in the U14 B division. So they play up, right? So they were playing against, I think it was Rayo Vallecano that weekend. And they lost the game 1-0. They dominated the game. They lost the game 1-0. And they lost the game 1-0 off of a mistake one of their defenders made early in the game, trying to play out from the back. And the thing that stood out for me is that none of the coaches ever raised their voice when that mistake was made. And the boys were encouraged. They made mistakes playing out of the back, but they were encouraged to keep doing it over and over in the game. By about the 13th, 15th minute of the game, they were almost flawless to the end of the game. And speaking to the coach after, he was over the moon because those players understood now how to play out of the back, the rules that they learned, that they were taught in terms of the positioning, something they call la pausa, where they hold the ball to invite pressure to come, to then play beyond that pressure. All of those things they were doing. Now, take that now. They lost it, right? Now, hold that and bring that to Trinidad, where at the U8 level, I have coaches here and parents boasting to me, yeah, our club won the U8 division.
Doesn't matter.
You won, right. But is your son a better player? Is your daughter a better player?
Right.
Can the U8 coach or the U10 coach or the U12 coach hand over that team to the U14 coach and say, listen, they have this. They have all the technique required. Now you can implement the tactics. No, you can't, because we just want to win. We have this mentality here that once you win, that you'll become a winner. So if you lose, you'll become a loser, conversely.
Right.
And that's absolute nonsense at that age group. And again, nobody has to take my word for it. Go look at the Dutch, go look at the Brazilians, go look at anybody worth their salt in world football, and you'll see that up to U13 or U14, what is worked on is technique. Technique. From U14 to U16 and U14, your tactics are coming in, but you're working on the technique. When you start to reach at U16, U17, your game is complete, Your game, the things that you can do as a player, they are done. Now, by playing over and over, you now know which tool to pull out of your tool bag for which occasion. So now you become efficient as a player. You understand your game better. We go the opposite grain here. In Trinidad, we have no template for development. And when I speak to people who should know better, it's very frustrating, because all they can point to is, and I'll say it in the colloquial term, I win everything already. I win this and I win that. Yeah. But if two donkeys race, one is going to look fast. When you take your donkey and you put it against Mexico, the thoroughbred, USA, Canada, then you see if you have coached, and we haven't. Right. So, sorry to talk so long on it, but I'm passionate about it.
But that's interesting, and that's news to me, because it seems like Trinidad and Tobago has developed a U.S. mentality, because that's kind of the way it is here. for, some parents and in some clubs. Some clubs are focused on development. And I think they do a good job of that here in the U.S., but there's still that parental influence. So is that parental influence similar in Trinidad and Tobago? Do you have parents on the sideline going crazy, yelling at their kids?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Wow.
You see what happened? And it's become prevalent now because my generation and the generation just before me, when I say generation, probably 5 years before myself, is a generation that started to go en masse to the US to study, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've come back with that mentality where we must win or the world comes to an end, or if we lose, everybody still has to get a medal, right? So you have parents who are writing to the coach, and I'm speaking from experience, I'm calling the coach to find out why their 17 and 18-year-old son, who I think is big enough to talk, isn't starting on the team. And they find he's playing so good. But have they sat down in any of the tactical sessions? Have they been there with you? Right? So we that pressure now, we have a number of academies opened up. Academies are business. If I want your business, I need to say the right things to you as a parent. So I need to tell you your son is the greatest. And your son could be the next Messi. And your son this, and your son that. And sorry, your daughter as well. And but you're paying your money. So he's telling you what you want to hear. Now, when you come to another coach who's doing his job and he says, yes, your son has ability, but he needs to work on A, B, C, D, E. And Johnny here is doing it better. So Johnny's starting. We need to work on your son to develop this. You, in the parent's mind, don't know what you're talking about because these other coaches here just told me that my son is the greatest and X, Y, Z. And that's how it goes. And it's a long road that we have to travel, and a lot of maturity is required for people to understand that a coach, I have the greatest respect for coaches. I mean, I have my differences with coaches, but anybody who decides upon themselves that they are going to coach, I already have a level of respect for you. My respect goes 100-fold if you're somebody who's trying to make yourself better every day as a coach, trying to educate yourself, trying to learn, right? But just the mere fact that you're willing to go out there in the climate to work with kids, with anybody, and try to teach the game, I have respect for you. But we need to come together as a group to understand that for Trinidad and Tobago to benefit, we need to do the right things. I don't know if it's because I come from a IT background, but best practice is something that I always harp on. And all we need to do is to look around and understand that things are not right here, and then look to people. We don't have to look to Germany or even a USA. We don't have to look there. I mean, there are things that we can take. But what you need to do is look at an Iceland. Look at somebody else who mimics your country's size, the resources, and you open a dialogue with them. Find out, listen, what did you do? I know for a fact that Iceland, they invested in their coaches. So I think they have the highest number of A-licensed coaches per capita. So the UEFA A license. So the chance of a child encountering an A licensed coach there is high.
Really high.
The chance of him doing the same in the Caribbean is very low. And probably we need to get ourselves or get our governments or get our FAs to invest in coaches, because coaches are teachers. And if the coaches work with the players and improve, if the coaching level improves, the players improve, the teams improve, the clubs improve, the national teams improve. Yeah, to me,
everybody benefits.
Yeah. A rising tide raises all ships. So it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to me, but I guess I'm not that intelligent.
Well, I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. And I think that transitions us into the National Football Coaches of Trinidad and Tobago. I know that you are one of the founders of the group, and I just kind of want to get a little bit more information in terms of what the mission is and what the purpose.
All right. The NFCTT, National Football Coaches of Trinidad and Tobago, was born out of a really horrible situation. Trinidad had just been normalized by FIFA. Coaches who had signed contracts were not hearing from the normalization committee nor the previous administration as it related to, their contracts.
Mhm.
We're in a pandemic here. Coaches can't coach. So there was a lot of negativity going around. And Angus Eve was the main guy who came and spoke to, he called me personally, he called Clayton Morris, he called Richard Hood, Jefferson George. And the thing about it is, Angus was the catalyst, but a number of us were talking about this, coaches coming together
Mhm.
and getting an association back. Because at the end of the day, leaving the contract issues aside,
Mhm.
Coaches sit in a very unique position. Coaches, as I said, are teachers. Coaches are the ones who interface directly with the players and interface with administration.
Mhm.
So anything that goes on in the game, from whichever angle you come from, it necessarily passes through
Comes with the
the
coach.
coach.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And we saw it, well, I personally saw this as a positive in helping the game go forward. So as I said, it started out of negativity, but it's grown into now where we are trying to represent all coaches in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is not the national coaches. We're talking about coaches from the grassroots level up to the national club coaches. We're trying to represent everybody. In representing, what we really want to do is to, give legal advice in terms of contracts, to give avenues for coaches to further their education. We want to be part of the discussion with the way forward for Trinidad and Tobago football. That involves, all right. So, for example, the Pro League and the number of other competitions may set competition dates, but do the person setting the date, does he or she understand recovery? Do they know how many days is really necessary for players to properly recover, to go into the next game, to give their best so that your product looks good,
Mhm.
and that your players are protected? Do they understand that? No, the coaches do. We're pushing to have, some sort of representation in all of these things so that we could advance the game. That this is helping the game go forward. I'll give you a real world example. I coach Queen's Park Super League team. I'm the assistant coach there with Sean Cooper, a fantastic guy who actually is the guy who gave me my first coaching opportunity.
Mhm.
And what I'm hearing is that one of the leagues, I'm not going to call the league name, has sent out a communique indicating that they want to start in February 2021. So, all right, so let's stop there for a minute.
Mhm.
You are going to ask, the first game is in 2021, February 2021.
Just a
These
month.
are players,
Yeah.
5 weeks, right? These are players who have not played football for the year. And you're going to ask coaches to get them ready in 6 to 5, let's say 6 weeks to play at the highest level, right? You're gonna injure players.
Yeah.
You're going to injure players.
Yeah.
Right. And it's things like that. I don't hold it against anybody. They just don't have the knowledge. But tap into the knowledge.
Mhm.
I am by no way stretch of the imagination claiming to be the smartest guy on the planet. If my wife walks in here, she will let you know that I am not. Right? But I pride myself in the fact that if I don't know something, I know who to ask and I know where to go.
Exactly.
Right? And the people running the leagues, they're administrators, they don't know. The coaches know. And when I say coaches, I don't mean and this brings me to another point. I don't mean the head coach and the assistant coach alone. The trainers, the physios, all of those guys. Those are the guys that the association represents. We are representing all aspects of a technical staff, manager, everything. So again, that knowledge base is with us. Talk to us. We can have them, advise on what is the correct time and everything to have, so that you can have a good product and safe players. That's what we're asking.
Interesting.
So we're pushing to be involved. People hear the term association and union and they automatically think conflict. Right. I don't think that is what we are about.
Right.
We are about trying to work with whoever is there. However, and I'm going to stress on this, for this to go forward, and for me personally, and I know I echo this with everybody else, for me to work with anybody else, there must be a level of respect. There must be a level of respect. Respect is, if we are communicating, then certain things I expect. You ask me something, I think you expect a response. Mm-hmm. The same as me. So for this thing to go forward properly, people need to come off of their high horses, come off of their thrones, come down, understand that we all bleed, and we all want Trinidad and Tobago's football to go forward. Mm-hmm. And we put our minds together and we work towards it. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. I love my country. I love football. Mm-hmm. And that is what I want to see go forward.
Right. And it's working towards a mission and
correct.
A goal, and kind of meeting milestones and, developing something that is tangible. Now, do you guys have any plans to provide any services to the players through this association?
The thing about it is I reached out personally to the current national captain and a couple of the senior players, because in starting the Coaches Association, again, the coaches and the players are the things closest to the product, mm-hmm. Yet they are the ones who are not represented. So I wanted to get behind them to start their own association. Mm-hmm. We wanted to offer some assistance, but I think they got up and they already started putting things in train. I honestly don't know how far along they've gotten. They haven't reached back out to me, and I don't want to impose myself on them. But we are there. We are there willing. They just have to ask. We're willing to help. They want any kind of advice. I mean, we're walking the road right now. We're walking the path to getting representation back at the board level. There are certain documents that we have to provide and those sort of things. So they could tap into us. We're further along in the experience. They could tap into us and we'd be willing to help. So to answer your question directly, if they have their own association, then they will be offering their services to their players. Mm-hmm. Informally, and you would know this, players, especially the younger players at the collegiate level, at the high school level in Trinidad, I am always trying to help to get players to take up scholarships to go. I've been doing that since I've been back into the coaching, and a number of my players and a number of other players are, on scholarships through, some of my efforts. There's actually a guy right now who, life is so funny. This kid was the goalkeeper for Moruga, and Moruga was the team that won the promotion to the first division of SSFL. We were the only team to beat them last year, but we missed out on goal difference. We needed to score 3 against them. We only scored 1, and he was the main reason why we didn't do that. And now I'm trying to help him get a scholarship. So
that's good because when you guys get off the field, you come back together as Trinidad and Tobago. You just
that's how it's supposed to be.
But everybody's on board for the country. Yeah. That's interesting.
If we could only think like that, we could go so far. We need to Trinidad needs to understand that we're nowhere close to where we were. Mm-hmm. We're nowhere as good as we should be or used to be. Mm-hmm. But it's not all lost. if we implement the right things, we can get back to where we were, and we could go further than that. I have no doubt in that. However, there must be a willingness to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been around the game long enough to identify when people are not trying to do the right thing. They may say a whole host of things. They may pat themselves on the back, but at the end of the day, just look at the game and you can understand that you're not doing it right. This thing is very simple to solve. This thing is very simple to solve. It requires work. It requires the right people. It requires the right mentality. It requires a leader who is going to have all encompassing, all encouraging sort of mentality to the thing, and not the maximum leader type, do as I say.
Right.
It also requires the leaders to look at who they're taking advice from.
That's true.
If people have walked the path before and their track record does not say success, why am I going to listen to them? And not only does it not say success, it says bright new going to rely on them for advice. Does not make sense.
No.
So
yeah. So that's interesting, Sheppy, and that's great advice. I mean, I think, seeing what the TTFA has gone through this year, I think, a good amount of people who are in the Trinidad and Tobago diaspora, myself included, want to see best for the country. I think that was really at the bottom of the barrel they had been most of the year, so I hope, they listen to this podcast, and, I hope people in the entire country who are involved with football say, hey, we really got to change our mentality, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's a change of mindset, and then having a structure that everybody can be on board, So I want to appreciate you for coming on to the show. We have another minute.
I want to add one thing, Justin. I heard what you said there about hope. And the thing about it is the reason why I am pushing with the Coaches Association is because I'm not leaving it up to hope. There's a certain route that we could go. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but if the Football Association isn't doing the things that we need to do to develop the game, to develop the game, we need to develop the players. If they're not doing that, if they're just looking to run competitions, then I think the government has a responsibility to that little kid in Moruga, or that little kid in Togo, or in Carnage, or in Tobago, to help him develop into as good a player as he can be.
Yeah.
So if the TTFA isn't interested, then the government needs to do something with the communities.
Right.
And those are the things that's my pet project right now. I am going to be very annoying to some leaders, because I am going to be asking for it over and over. I know what lies ahead for me. I've been hearing whispers of being blacklisted, and that's okay. That's okay. I love my country and I love the game. And if it means that I cannot coach at a national level again, but that we go in the right direction, I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that,
I'm
right?
Way okay with that.
Right, because there are plenty of other opportunities in other islands and other countries for you to go. So, and it's a shame that they would even think about, the blacklisting of someone who wants best for the country. I mean, that's just kind of crazy.
Again, I might want best for the country, but I also know that I don't know everything. But I can add to the fabric. There are other people and there are other types of leaders who believe that you can't tell them anything. You're not the type of person who's supposed to tell them anything. Right? So they take anything that you say, that once you're not shaking your head or nodding and saying, yes, sir, you're wrong.
You're wrong, right?
And I am sorry. I will be wrong for a lot of people.
Right. So Sheppy, if the audience wants to follow the National Football Coaches of Trinidad and Tobago, where can they go? Do you guys have a website up? Are you on social media?
No, we're in the infancy right now. We're really focused on trying to put the legal and constitutional stuff together that we need to get set up. Mm-hmm. All I can offer to them is our email address, which is National Football Coaches tt@gmail.com.
Okay.
So that's National Football Coaches tt@gmail.com. You could write us to make any inquiries. And I forgot to point out, we are going to be open to all coaches who are connected to Trinidad and Tobago. So if you live in Miami, if you live in Washington, if you live in Timbuktu, but you're affiliated, you're connected, by blood, or your parents or your grandparents, were from Trinidad and Tobago, and you want to be involved, you want to be part of the coaching fraternity here, by all means, we open. We have a number of people who have already applied from the US. Right?
Sign me up. No, I said sign me up.
Yeah.
The list as well.
You and Marion for sure. Yep. Myron for sure. You two guys for sure. Yeah. But we right now, as you could appreciate, we are coaches trying to set up an administration. We have to have a conversation with the Minister of Sport to see if we can get an office area. Mm-hmm. How our vision for the thing is that it would be staffed, so that we would have administrative staff seeing about the administrative stuff. The coaches don't have to be, going home to photocopy something like that. We want to be very professional. Right. We want to link. We've already started linking with other coaches associations, around the world. Jefferson George, who is the interim president right now, has a dialogue going with the Dutch KNVB guys that he knows there. So we have some big plans. Anton Cornel is a big part, is going to be a massive part of this with his education that he has. Mm-hmm. And we have some big plans going forward. I just want to let all the coaches know, if you want to coach, then you need to want to learn as well. So you need to want to move yourself to the next level in terms of your accreditation and your qualification. Gone should be the day when a national coach doesn't have anything more than a C license, right, or any license at all. That's supposed to be frowned upon, and that day hasn't arrived as yet, Justin. It still exists.
Well, that's a shame. That's a shame. So hopefully that'll change in the future through the association. So Sheppy, I want to thank you again for coming on to the show, and please come back again. I'd love to hear about how the association is evolving, and of course how football in Trinidad and Tobago is improving. Hopefully. Thanks
for having me. I could talk about this for a month, so anytime you want, just say the word and I'll be back.
Okay. All right, Sheppy. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. And we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.
Right. Take care.